Good morning, Brad.
Morning.
It is exciting to have you here with us on the KJ Today Show, and it must be such an exciting day for you to have your latest book out in the Ordinary People Change the World series. Do you want to tell everybody what the new book is?
I would be honored to. Thank you. I write thrillers and mysteries usually for a living, but eventually I had kids, and I said I want to give my kids better heroes to look up to, heroes of kindness, and heroes of perseverance. So we started with I am Amelia Earhart, I am Abraham Lincoln. We did I am Rosa Parks, I am Albert Einstein. My son loves sports. We did I am Jackie Robinson, and this is now the 10-year anniversary of the I Am series, and we are celebrating with the number one most requested hero we've gotten from kids, and it's I Am Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And it's our way of trying to put a little more good out into the universe, is doing this kids book series for kids age about 4 or 5 to about 12 years old.
I love that. I was going to ask you, what inspired you. Obviously, Ruth has inspired many of us, and especially young girls and women with what she did in her life. So you take the feedback from your readers and shape a book that they want to read.
I mean, listen, we listen to kids, and also kids don't ask nicely. They just make demands. They're like little terrorists. They're like, draw this book, write this book for me. But you know what? What I found over time is they're not wrong. Kids are really amazing readers. And the reason we tell these stories, we think of Ruth Bader Ginsburg as an example, as this very serious Supreme Court justice. But when she was a little girl, Ruth Bader Ginsburg just wanted to go on adventures, climb trees. She wanted to play tag. But when she was growing up, there was a time when girls weren't supposed to do that. They would tell her, you can't do that. Girls can't do that. It's her mother who breaks that stereotype. Her mom used to take her every Friday afternoon to the local library and tell young Ruth, you can pick out 5 books. And among the favorites of Ruth Bader Ginsburg were books about real heroes, Amelia Earhart, Harriet Tubman. And in that moment, she would get one of life's great lessons. There's absolutely nothing that a girl can't do. And I want my daughter to have that lesson. I want my sons to have that lesson. That is what I Am Ruth Bader Ginsburg as a book is about.
I have goosebumps. I'm so excited. I have a friend who's an author, and Ruth is one of her heroes. And I told her I was talking with you today, and I mean, even talking today, with our listeners and such, so many people. I hope that appreciate what you have done. I have a school teacher that's listening named Jenny that has your entire collection that's in her reading room, and she said these books are the most requested books over and over. This is what our kids want, and to know that for 10 years you've been creating that. And do your children realize that they inspired this series and the impact that it has had for so many other kids?
My kids are so unimpressed with their dad, and that's the way it's supposed to be, right? I mean, my daughter, it's so funny. The reason these books exist is my daughter, I wanted to give her Amelia Earhart. And when she was little, when she was 8 years old, I said, look, Amelia Earhart, she's amazing. She flew across the Atlantic Ocean. And my daughter said, big deal, Dad. Everyone flies across the Atlantic. She was not impressed at all. But then I told her this true story that when Amelia Earhart was 7 years old, she built a homemade roller coaster in her backyard. And she took a wooden crate, put roller skating wheels on the bottom, built this homemade roller coaster, crashed through. The whole thing was a giant mess. But my daughter loved the story. She thought that was a better story. And my daughter was the one who broke open the whole series. As I realized kids don't want to hear about the boring old version of these people. They want to see them when they're kids just like them. And then the I Am series, I Am Ruth Bader Ginsburg, I Am Mr. Rogers, or any other, these aren't the stories of famous people. This is what we're all capable of on our very best days.
And I think that, it's such an important message because you do want to go back. That's often what I want to do, and to talk to you about, who's going to write the I Am story about you. What are those things in your childhood, those things that, inspired you and got you to where you are, Brad?
It's certainly like Ruth Bader Ginsburg. It was a family member. My grandfather used to tell me stories when I was little. Taught me the power of story. I used to remember he would take our old toys. We didn't have much money, but when we were done with our toys that we weren't playing with, he would give them away to the kids who were even poor in the neighborhood. And I remember seeing this kid once who took one of the toys that was so beat up, and he was just like, "Oh, this is such a great toy." He was so excited to have this thing that I thought at that point was garbage. And it just made me realize like how little, people have out there, how much people struggle. We were struggling, but there was always someone who's struggling more. So I can't complain at all. I had it great. I had my grandfather. And those lessons, my core belief, I believe, I don't care where you went to school. I don't care how much money you make. That's nonsense to me. I believe in regular people and their ability to change the world. I believe ordinary people change the world. And that's why the book series is literally called Ordinary People Change the World, is because it's my core belief. And I will tell you this, like, it's the same thing with all these heroes. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, when she's a little girl, as an example, instead of birthday parties, her mom used to take her to the local Jewish orphanage and give away ice cream to the orphans. And in that act, Ruth Bader Ginsburg learns how to serve others. She learns how to make change. How do you make change? You make it yourself. You have to do it. That's not a lesson she learns in law school. That's a lesson that her mother gives her. She learns from her mom. And Ruth Bader Ginsburg, of course, makes change from there using the legal system. And in my version, I'm just using books and stories to make change, trying to use these books to put some good into the world. It's the same exact lesson repeated in a different way.
And when you're working with, obviously, some of the heroes we've talked about, like Amelia Earhart, you're going with history, but with Ruth's story in particular, you really worked with the family, correct, to create this to honor her.
I do. When we did Jane Goodall's I Am Jane Goodall weighed in on hers, Dolly Parton weighed in on hers. And I love the fact that for this book, we got to go to Ruth Bader Ginsburg's daughter was one of my teachers in law school. She was one of my professors. So I got to go to her daughter and say, "Here's your mom. Here's the book I wrote about her." And she was able to give me some of those, great details that are in the book. And I love the fact that we get to go right to the source. It's a little harder to talk to Abraham Lincoln when we do his book, but I love the fact when we get to talk to the real people, and Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I actually knew her because she was she's
Oh,
the only person in the book series who I knew before we wrote a book about her. And we'd done events together, and she was very kind to me over the years. And in fact, when I was we were both the witnesses for a friend's wedding, we signed the marriage certificate. We were the two witnesses, and Justice Ginsburg signs before I do. I looked at my friend who was getting married, and I was like, "Do you really need me at this point? You got the queen right here." But I love the fact that we get to tell these stories. My only regret is I never got to tell her we were doing a book about her. She never knew we were doing I Am Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
oh man, was it something that you knew you would do someday, or was it,
I knew we
after
were
after?
eventually going to do. Yeah, we knew we were eventually. She was always on the list, but I just never got to tell her in time. She obviously passed away as a surprise, and so she never knew. We were, 6 months away from starting it.
Wow. Well, I mean, it's a wonderful gift to all of us, but what an incredible gift to give to your friend's family to continue to honor her. This must be so special for you.
It really is. I mean, these books are my soul in book form, and I'm thankful to everyone out there who uses our books to build libraries of real heroes for their kids and their grandkids and their nieces and nephews.
So you mentioned the list. How big is this list, Brad? And how many more do you think you have in you?
When I first went to the publisher, they said, "Oh, I'm Amelia Earhart and I'm Abraham Lincoln, 2 books. That's adorable." And I said, "No, I want to do 100 books. I want to build a whole library." And the best thing they did is they didn't laugh. And so far, I'm a third of the way there. I'm a stubborn guy. It's very hard to change the minds of adults, but we've got 7 million books in print, and we're arming an entire army of young kids with lessons of kindness and compassion. So we're on our way.
And have you noticed in the 10 years, obviously we've changed a lot and gone much more digital, and kids are learning on iPads. Have you noticed any struggles with continuing to put out the books, or are they just so great at resonating with people that the physical copies are what people want?
In my thrillers, we sell, 20% is in on the iPad. In the kids' books, it's less than 1%. It's tiny. Kids,
Wow.
parents are smart. They don't want their kids on screens, and I love the fact that they're pushing back and buying our books as real books. Because when you read with a child, the kid years from now will never remember what book you read for the most part. Lots of the books will be forgotten. Maybe the best ones will be remembered, but lots will be forgotten. But what they won't forget is sitting on your lap with your arms around them as you read that book with them. That is a gift that you give forever. And I love the fact that people still buy our books and read them the old fashioned way.
I want to dive into, because we have an aspiring producer that is listening, named David, and he said, could you ask Brad to talk about how he has managed to be in the movie, TV world, the book world? Because I think, and I think this is a question that resonates a lot with us these days. It used to be like, what do you want to be? And you kind of had to like pick a thing, and that's what you're supposed to do with your life. And you are an example of you can do so many different things. Do you have some advice for, for David, who wants to direct movies, wants to write books, wants to be multifaceted?
Yeah, so we've done 32 heroes in the I Am series, and they have a couple things in common. They're so diverse, right? Of U.S. presidents and athletes and singers and Nobel Prize winners, but from every walk of life, every color, skin color, you name it. But they have a couple things in common, and one is, of course, that they're all helping people. You got to help someone, right?
Yeah.
I tell my kids all the time, being a billionaire who has his own powerful company doesn't make you a hero. You got to think of someone beside yourself. So that's one. But the second one is the one you're talking about. And the one thing they all have in common is they're all following their passion, right? For Billie Jean King, it's with tennis. For Jim Henson, it's with puppets. For Ruth Bader Ginsburg, it's the law. For Mr. Rogers, it's with a kids' TV show. Every one of them, though, Amelia Earhart, it's airplanes. And Martin Luther King Jr., it's just speaking. It's his ability to communicate and dream. And every one of them, though, is doing what they love. So I think for whoever it is out there, whether if they want to make TV shows or they want to do something, as long as it's your passion, go after it. That's what you're going to always be the best at. I firmly, firmly believe that. I think every hero that we've done in this series is following their passion in their own wild way. Jane Goodall is I Am Jane Goodall is one of our top selling books. And one of the reasons is, I wrote it because my daughter loves our dog, just loves our dog. And I wanted to show her, this is what you can do with the power of loving animals. Look what Jane Goodall did in the world. My son loves sports. So I showed him, I said, forget a millionaire overpaid athlete. Here's a real hero for you. I wrote, I am Jackie Robinson for him. That's his passion, sports. And my youngest son is our creative one, loves to draw and make Lego and build Legos. And for him, I did, I am Mr. Rogers, I am Walt Disney, I am Jim Henson. Show him the power of what creativity can do. Even I am Leonardo da Vinci. And each of these lessons is embedded in there is your passion is the thing that you're going to be the best at.
Thank you for inspiring us so much today, Brad. And I do have to tell everybody, you need to go to Brad's Instagram, because the fact that you are so excited about this book that the announcement is you standing in front of the courthouse with the wig on and the gavel and and telling everybody to get I am Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I love it. It made me smile today knowing that you are so passionate about all of this book, but in particular telling this story. And what a wonderful little nugget to also find out that she was a friend of yours and that you are honoring her with this book, which is out now. Thank you so much, Brad, for being on the KJ Today Show. We would love to have you back anytime.
Very kind, and would love being here. And thank you for inspiring all your listeners out there as well.
Thanks for joining us for another celebrity interview. Of course, the KJ Today Show isn't just about talking to celebs. It's about hanging out with you. Join us live on Wednesday nights for pop culture, people to know, and pets. The KJ Today Show on YouTube. Subscribe and watch live Wednesday nights at 7.